Jesus' right hand, all these people, aren't you with Jesus? What does Peter do? I have no idea who he is. He denies him not once. He denies him not twice. He denies him 3 times. And when he finally realizes what he had done to his best friend, his struggle in following Jesus, he wept bitterly. This morning, we all have struggles in following Jesus. Amen, church? We all have struggles. Whether you deny him or start cursing down curses on yourself. For me, I look at this and we have to understand we can worship and fall prey to the struggles that we go through or rise above the struggle. Some of us allow the struggles to control your emotions. Some of you allow in life and how miserable your life is and blaming the government. You're blaming the IRS. Oh, it's taxes time. I don't get enough money back. Well, work harder. Do something different. Be creative. Stop blaming the world for your problems. Understand your problems are whose? Your problems. Deal with it. And when you got God on your side, boy, you can sure get through those struggles a whole lot easier. If you stop worshiping the struggle, stop worshiping the God that allows you to struggle. Start worshiping him who gave you the opportunity to live. Start being grateful for the life that you do have. Instead of we allow struggles and our insecurities and our arrogance and our pride and our wisdom to think that we're the ones that are in control of this world. Let me tell you what, if you die today, the world's still going to go living. It's not going to be, hey, let's wait. Where's Sandy? Hey, where's Mog? Hey, where's Ray at? We can't go on this life without him. No. This life, you're a part of it. You're a small fragment. Understand, we all have struggles, church. But don't allow your struggle to be all the reason why you live your life. Peter was in a low point of his life. Just when it seems that things were getting better, it gets worse. You ever felt that before? Yeah. Man, you feel like you're coming out of the dark and you're like, wow, things are looking up and hopefully things are going to get better, and they start to get worse. What do? Sometimes we need to pray. But some of us, man, when it gets worse, we start to blame. And then what do? We become the victim. Well, if the church was just more loving, then I'd have better, an easier life. No, it isn't. The issue is you're worshiping your struggle. You're in your struggle. God's giving you an opportunity to love like Christ, to have an opportunity to change and be different. We all have struggles in following Jesus. But for me, it's all about the importance of your perspective of the struggle. See, Peter, he was broken. He goes on to be sad. And, it's easy, right? When you're sad and struggling, what do we do next? We want to get depressed. Some of us turn to food and alcohol and other things and other vices thinking that that's going to make us feel better. We start to watch more movies and watch more TV and start to travel more and start to charge more credit cards. And then you know what? What happens when you wake up the next day? That credit card balance doesn't go down, it goes up. Because, I was struggling. Well, I understand that. We're all going to have struggles. Even Peter had a struggle. We're all going to struggle in following Jesus. We all have a beginning with Jesus. We all have a struggle in following Jesus. But you know what we need? We need the love of Jesus. Mark chapter 16. Turn over there. Mark chapter 16. We need something, church. And for me, in my short years of 44 years of living, when I was in college, I thought that living was getting a degree. And then when you get the degree, everything's going to be rosy. And then when you get the girl, man, everything's going to be greater. And then when you finally get the job, everything's going to be a whole lot easier. And then you get married and you go, man, life is now cakewalk. I've got it all taken care of. And you have kids and you go, man, this is going to be a little more challenging. And your kids get older and you go, oh man, this is going to be a whole lot more challenging. And you're like, man, is there a God? Is there any hope? Man, we all we're going to struggle. And I want the kids in this church to know, guys, as adults, lead the way to love like Christ for these kids. Teach them. When you make a bad choice and you make bad choices, love your kids and be willing to admit when you make bad choices. See, our kids in our society, you know what they'd rather have? What was that, Mom? Moms and dads, this is called the babysitter, the iPhone. I want to encourage us. Put the iPhones away. Put the boob tube, the TV. My boys are like, we never heard the boob tube, Dad. Now, that's the 80s, son. Get used to it. When those TVs were like 40 inches, but they weighed 500 pounds. My dad's day, they had black and white. So get used to it, boys. Back in Opa's day, it was black and white TV. Atari 2600. But this is a sidebar note. Why? Because we all have struggles in following Jesus. I think for us as Christians, especially and parents, man, spend some time with your kids. Go for a walk with your son and have a talk. You know, one brother I appreciate, Ken Henry. But that brother loves everybody, I think. You know, but what I love about Ken Henry, that man just spends quality time with these kids. And it's amazing what these kids begin to talk about when you stop watching the movies and watching the TV and stop letting them focus on their little iPods, iPads, iMacs, 2Macs, Tupac, whatever you want to call them. And just spending quality time with your kids. What your kids need and what they're really craving, they might not tell you. My son's a teenager. Jackson's like, I don't want to hug you, Dad. Get away from me. I'm like, man, you remember when I used to change your diapers, boy? I used to watch movies and you used to love when Daddy hugged you. Now I can't barely get a hug at him. But you know what these kids really want the most? Just your attention. Have a conversation with you. Stop giving your struggles all that attention. God gave you 2 kids. Take care of them. Spend time. Spend quality time. You know, Peter, he went through a struggle in following Jesus. But you know, we all need a Savior. Look over in Mark chapter 16. That was a segue sermon right there. That took up 4 minutes. Man. Mark 16, you know, when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Salome, brought spices so they might go anoint Jesus' body. Very early the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb. And they asked each other, who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb? Jesus is dead and he's in the tomb. But what happened? There's a resurrection happening. But when they looked up, they saw the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in white robes sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. Don't be alarmed, he said. You're looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples, and who? And Peter. He's going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. You know, why do I read this passage? Well, we all have struggles in following Jesus, and we all need. And what Peter needed the most in this time after giving up and betraying his best friend, you know what Peter needed the most? He needed a friend. And what Jesus provides as he resurrects, he's saying this really important thing. But go tell the disciples, and especially Peter. Peter needed reassurance that you can blow it miserably and still be loved by God. Amen. See, Peter needed to know the reassurance that Jesus provided. Jesus knew Peter needed reassurance. He just denied me in front of all these people. I know Peter's beating himself up. See, Jesus and God, he knows what you go through. He sees you when you're crying. He sees you when you're struggling. He understands the struggle you're going through. What God is trying to tell you to get through your heads is stop worshiping the struggle. Just turn to me. I'm going to help you out. Lean on me. Give me your attention. Give me your love. Give me your thoughts. And what do? We get so depressed and we don't even think right because the struggle is more important than God. Jesus provides us. We all need the love of Jesus. Yes, we all need the love of Jesus. Cerritos, what they need is Jesus. They don't need a new program. They need a man like Ken Henry. They need a man like Sochi or a woman like Sochi. They need a man like Dale, a young, amazing woman like Debbie, an amazing mother to say, hey, I'm going to love like Jesus. I'm going to love my kids like Jesus. I'm going to love my neighbors like Jesus. If that means inviting them to church, please do so. If that means bringing them over a meal, please do so. If that means seeing your neighborhood and your neighbor in need, then please go love like Jesus. You know, one thing I always do, and you know, may think I'm crazy, but that's a whole different ball of wax. But when I see someone in need, I can't help it. I'm nosy. I think I get that from my mother. I'm not blaming my mom. I'm just saying, one thing my mom, if you do something wrong in front of my mom somewhere in public, trust me, Dagmar is going to have one for you. And the one thing that I love, that she's taught me the most, My mom's taught me to care. When you see someone do something wrong, you know what we do, our nature is? Well, I don't want to say nothing. What's going to happen? They're going to pull a gun on me? They're going to do something crazy? But when I see a need, May and I are out. I saw this guy kind of looking out, and he was in line, He's looking around. I said, hey, you need some help? Yeah, I need some help trying to find my wife. I don't know. Hey, what do you need? I need a couple bucks. Yeah, here's a couple bucks. Oh, you didn't have to do that. I know I didn't have to, but you needed help. You looked like you needed some help. That's all. Why do I share that? Guys, some of us, we're so busy, we don't even see the needs around us. And we're supposed to be Christians. Well, we got to go to the game. We got to get gas. I got a timetable, and I don't want to be late for church. I would love for you to be late for church to help someone in need. Now, hear me out on this. I got to say this. I'm not condoning picking up hitchhikers and doing all these crazy different things. All I want to plead and implore on Christ's behalf. Guys, the answer is if we love like Jesus, this world will be a whole lot better. Yeah, that fight you have with your wife, were you loving like Christ? No, then love like Christ. It'll be different. Well, she did this. I didn't say that. Focus on you. You can only change you. You can't change circumstances. So you choose to make sure you don't live according to your circumstances, but you live differently within the circumstance. See, we need the love of Jesus. And the last part I love about Jesus is that, and Peter, we all have a comeback with Jesus. Well, how do I know that? Acts chapter 2. Peter went through a beginning with Jesus and called him out. Peter also, Acts chapter 2. Peter also went through a struggle in following Jesus. Peter also had to understand he needed the love of Jesus to forgive him and accept his faults. And we also understand that we all have a comeback with Jesus. In Acts chapter 2, verse 14, then Peter stood up with the 11, raised his voice, and addressed the crowd. Why I love this? Because even Peter has a comeback with Jesus. The man who denied Jesus 3 times, he was the first person to preach the sermon at Pentecost. Even Peter. See, we all this morning have a comeback with Jesus. This morning, church, find it in your hearts to understand we as a church want to live out our faith by loving like Christ. How dare we be so busy, too busy for our kids,